Hey, I'm not fishing for attention, I swear, but I need someone to tell me I'm not crazy, or at least tell me which way is out of this, because we're boxed in on every side. I keep running my tongue over the split in my lip and tasting the copper from where June nailed me with her phone by accident. She was shaking and it slipped, and I can hear my name in the air like a mosquito that won't quit. If any of you know what to do when the person you love swears she saw you wrong, and then you see her wrong, please talk to me like I'm drowning, because that's exactly how this feels. We don't live in a haunted manor. We're boring and broke and rent a shoebox with a half yard and one of those aluminum sheds that always sounds like rain, even when it isn't raining. The only spooky thing in our neighborhood is the tenant above us who drags furniture at 3 a.m., and even he apologizes during the day. College town, bars, pizza. June works at a thrift store, and I wear a polyester polo for a warehouse job. The ghosts aren't supposed to pick us. That's what I thought yesterday, at least. When I came home last night, my head was already a high from a 9-hour shift and the radio whining about traffic on streets I wasn't even on. I stepped inside. The air had that stale, chilly feel of a house that's been holding its breath, and the quiet was wrong, not just peaceful. June always fills the place with noise, podcasts about murders and plants, some girl whispering makeup advice, whatever, just to keep her own thoughts from crowding her. No noise, just my keys clipping the dish and the coat rack groaning like it knows it's about to be overworked again. I called her name. The bedroom door was open, and my first thought was we'd been robbed, like the thief had taken the TV and the cat and the very concept of sound. But the TV was there, and the cat was probably under a bed somewhere plotting world domination. I stepped into the bedroom, and there was June wedged into the corner, sitting like a little kid in trouble, making herself small enough to slip between the paint and the drywall. Eyes red, shoulders rigid. She saw me and shook her head like I was a stranger wandering into the wrong room. Hey, I started, automatic, gentle. Hey, what happened? June, don't come closer, she hissed. Not pleaded. Hissed like my name burned. June, it's me. She grabbed the stupidest possible weapon. My 10th grade swim meet participation trophy. It's got a little brass figure that looks like a man trying to leap over his own insecurity. I'll do it, she yelled, voice cracking. I'll crack your skull. Don't move. I stopped. My brain fat-fingered reality. I wanted to laugh because the trophy? Really? But the way she held it, the way her face went flat except for her eyes, made me swallow whatever joke was about to get me killed in our secondhand duvet. Are you seriously going to kill me with my 10th grade swimming team participant trophy? I said anyway, but I slowed it down, idiotically clear, like maybe the specificity would unlock something. She stared at the plaque, at the cheap engraving. You can't see it unless you're on that side of the shelf. And her hand shook. Something unclenched in her shoulders, and I watched her crumble. She let the trophy lower to her thigh and sobbed like her ribs had just finally given up holding in the ocean. We have to leave, she said. It came out as air more than sound. Please, please, I'll tell you in the car. We left like the house had started filling with smoke. Shoes left half on. I grabbed the keys with the little rubber skateboarding dinosaur. June grabbed her coat, one sleeve inside out. We didn't look back. I locked the door twice on the way out, then unlocked it and locked it again because my hands didn't trust what they were doing. We drove nowhere with intent. The movie theater lot, neon, bleeding warm colors through the rain, making everything look edible. We parked under a light because darkness felt like an invitation and I was done giving out invitations. June cried with this slow, tired cry that happens when you have to keep it quiet, but there's too much of it and it drains down your throat and makes you breathe weird. What the hell happened? I asked, and I did not nail the supportive boyfriend tone. It came out like a manager at a closed-door meeting. We can call the cops if someone broke in. Okay. Is the house safe? Did you hear the door? Why did you point a trophy at me like I'm a stranger? I didn't know if you were you, she whispered, voice so small I almost missed it over the AC rattling. What does that even mean? You won't believe me. Try me. She pulled at her hair with both hands like she was pulling words out of a jam printer. Then she stared out the windshield where the rain kept drawing, then erasing the same line on the glass. I was in bed. I had YouTube on. I saw a shadow at the hallway, like not on the floor. It was, she closed her eyes. It didn't walk. It slid. Smooth, like someone had edited it in. It came down the hall, jumped to the wall, kept sliding. No sound. None. I paused the video and called for you, but the door never opened. It shouldn't have been you, but it looked. She kept talking, and I kept trying not to interrupt with, what do you mean by smooth? But physics? And all the dumb little rational hooks I wanted to throw to reel my world back in. The face, she said. It was trying to be your face. It had your work shirt, the crest wrong, like it copied it off a smear, and the pants and your dumb white socks with the red stripes. She smiled then, ghastly and bitter, because she won that detail, like a point scored in a game she didn't want to be in. But it wasn't right. The mouth, it sagged. Like the smile fell off, but it was still smiling. The eyes were white and wrong, like stickers, and the black in the middle was a hole. Your body didn't. The arm was too long, and the fingers were stuck out of a ball. It hovered. It turned away. It left. Then, 10 seconds later, the front door opened for real, and you were you again. I wanted to call a hospital. I wanted to text her sister and ask if weird runs in the family. I wanted to rewind our relationship to something simpler, like waking up late for class together. I wanted to leave without her, because that would mean this wasn't mine too. We fought. I won't give you the play-by-play. It was ugly and petty and correct in all the wrong ways. I asked if she'd taken anything, if she was sleeping, if she was still on her meds. She wasn't on meds. That was the point I was reaching. And she cut me with that look people give you when you show them the worst version of yourself. We didn't break up, but we cracked. Somewhere in that crack, I agreed to not go home, and she agreed to not leave me on the side of the road. We slept in the car by the college, heads tilted at angles the human neck doesn't like, and the garbage truck woke us with a bang that rattled my fillings. We apologized. You know the script. I said I believed her, and I meant it with my mouth, and maybe my hands, the way they went to her shoulders and rubbed, but I didn't have the belief in my chest. I had to go home to prove we were just tired. I needed my warehouse key card, and we needed to feed the cat. Larry, named ironically because he has no chill and climbs curtains like a little thief. June refused, begged, pleaded using words that sounded like they were brand new to her own tongue. If you go back in, you'll die. Calm, like reading a label. I'll never see you again. It'll take something from you, and I won't know it's missing until it's already wearing your skin better than you do. I'll get in and out, I lied. 2 minutes. I'll bring Larry. Then we'll get a motel, and I don't know. We'll figure it out. The house in daylight looked like a prop house. Harmless. The siding a little warped from heat. The rose bush that we promised to prune 7 different weekends and never did clawing at the porch. But every light was on inside. I saw that from the driveway. Every TV blaring. The living room faces the street, and the screen was an epileptic mess of infomercials and a red-faced talk show guy making a chewing motion with his mouth. But on mute, it looked like someone acting out a snake swallowing its own tail. I did a perimeter walk because I'm an idiot who thinks rote movements can solve things. Window to window. Couch. Table. Hallway. Bedroom. Bathroom. No obvious. No obvious wrongness except the lights and the TV volume, which sounded like 2 rooms were trying to outscream each other. I saw Larry, arrogant little king, on the coffee table, staring at the door like he expected me to knock. My key card sat next to him on a ring with a bottle opener shaped like a shark. I opened the door and the sound slapped me. Full volume makes commercials feel like a drill. Try to find soft places in your ear. I reached for the remote, shut the living room TV off. The kitchen TV kept going. June watches recipe compilations there, and the disembodied hands chopping parsley became white and strobe white under the fluorescence. I scooped Larry. He dug in me, 3 clean lines on my forearm, then launched to the floor, back arched like he'd seen a ghost of a cat he hated. That's when I smelled it. Not rot, not normal blood, Metallic like pennies, and a hot penny smell layered on top with something slick under it, like the way a new tire smells if you drag your fingernail across it and sniff. I thought maybe the cat had knocked something over or the pipes were bleeding rust. I walked toward the bedroom, calling Larry like he ever listens. "Buddy, Semir, stupid boy, you terror." He hissed at the bedroom door and shot under the bed, tail down. I got on my stomach and reached, elbows scraping dust and my own shredded shed skin and the cap to a chapstick I lost in July. He curled away, tighter, like a meatball with spikes. I got my arm around him eventually, and he went wild. He sliced my neck twice and bolted. I stood up and felt it before I saw it. There's a pressure rooms get when someone else is in them. Your body knows a shape behind you even before your eyes do. The windows were all wrong. 2 rectangles of daylight turned suffocating, and there above the bed, floating was, I don't have words, a version of June from last night. Not the way she really looks. The way she looked when she was terrified of me, with the lamp shining up from the nightstand and warping her face. The thing had copied the fear, not the girl. Its mouth hung and smiled and drooled the idea of spit, and its hair was a smear that suggested hair. It had fused a piece of itself into something gold and boxy, and I swear to you it was trying to be the trophy. Like it knew the shape, not the why. It smelled like pennies and burnt toast. I left. I didn't run. I didn't walk. I did something in between that broke any pretense of being a dignified adult. I scraped my thigh on the door frame and didn't feel it until later. Out. Car. Keys. June. The world turned to static until her hands were on my face. She kept saying my name, and the more she said it, the more I remembered it. I sat there with paper towels pressed to my neck where Larry had insisted on doing his contribution to the horror by trying to open me from the side. We drove back to the theater and watched kids in hoodies run to buy popcorn at 2 p.m. on a weekday, like the apocalypse had politely chosen someone else. This is where I admit I folded. I believed her, not because I decided to, not because it was reasonable, because I had eaten a chunk of the thing she had to swallow alone last night, and it tasted like pennies and plastic and the back of a TV that's been on too long. It burned holes in any other options. We sat there until afternoon went edible again. I ignored my boss's calls until he sent one of those long texts with lots of periods, which is how he argues when he tries to keep it civil. June held my hand and kept checking the rear view like it would drive up behind us. We argued quieter after that. A different kind of argument. Where do we go? Who do we call? Do we tell anyone? The police would laugh or worse. Show up and find nothing and mark our address for frequent flyers. Our parents would worry or lecture or use this as an excuse to tell us to move home. The internet would devour us for content and then spit us back out with 10,000 contradicting theories. June had an idea. If it wants to copy, she said, and the way she said it made me hate the English language for letting the word copy even have a job, then maybe there are rules. Things that keep it from being good at it. We'd done the thing where you type the weird into a search bar at 3 a.m. and let strangers' hallucinations cradle you. But it wasn't 3 a.m. It was ugly daylight. We didn't want to scroll threads. We needed something that felt like a warning folded and hidden under a sink. The thrift store where June works gets donations from cleanouts. Houses where someone died or someone left and no one wanted to pack. And they sometimes find binders with instruction for things that don't exist anymore. Like microwaves that have 2 buttons, she said. We went there because it was almost instinct. Keys in the ignition. Our car smelled like wet hoodie and the metallic tang on my neck. The store was quiet. June unlocked the back, and we went into the donation room with its smell of old soap and wet cardboard. This was a stupid plan. Then I saw it. A plastic crate with office supplies, a stapler, a roll of labels, a 3-ring binder with a cover sheet that read in jittery dot matrix font. Field notes, recognition failures, local domestic. Under it, someone had scribbled with a felt tip marker, "Don't show anyone who smiles like this." June and I didn't look at each other. We opened it on the floor. Inside were photocopies, blurry pictures of dark hallways, notes written in blocky caps. A few typed pages with procedural steps like it was from some official who didn't have time for nouns. The first page was titled Operational Notes, and it had a date from the 80s and a list of phone numbers that probably don't connect to anything anymore. I'll copy the relevant part exactly because the binder made me feel like if you misquote it, you break it. Rule 1. If it knocks, let it finish the sequence. Do not answer in the middle. Do not answer quickly. Wait. Note. It will make slow and fast debate you. Rule 2. Always misname the household animal in its presence. If you have no animal, put a stuffed one on display. Keep the wrong name consistent. This interrupts patterning. Rule 3. Keep all televisions below volume 10 while inside after sunset. Volume equals loudness. Turn down the signal, not the noise. Rule 4. Never say, "It looks like me / or / him." Use neutral reference. Call it the copy or the smooth. Saying me / or / him grants mapping permission. Rule 5. Do not bring trophies, awards, plaques, or engraved items into the room with it. It uses text like a stencil. The letters cut the faster paths. It also had a warning in smaller handwriting. The safe rule is the trap, and a final line that read, "If you see a yellow post-it twice, leave." That house is over. We didn't laugh. I wanted to laugh because misnaming your cat felt like the universe playing a prank. We looked at each other, and both of us felt that braided sensation you get when the world lines up in a way that makes you feel included and doomed. The TV thing, the trophy, the word choice. June put her finger on Rule 5, and her finger came up dusty with toner. What if it's bullshit? I said weakly. What if it's not? June said, and her voice had this strength I hadn't heard since before last night. She was building a spine out of the binder's rings. We took the binder. The thrift store felt like it had suddenly become an enemy because it had acknowledged our enemy. We told the air we're borrowing this because thieves die in stories like ours. We didn't lock up. I don't even remember if we turned the lights off. If you've ever gone back to a place that tried to erase you, you know the walk from the car to the door is less than 30 steps, and at the same time, it's a pilgrimage with your whole childhood on your back. I had the binder under my coat, like a priest carrying the book. June had a pair of scissors in her pocket, and I don't know what she thought she would cut. We defined a plan. Simple. Pick a wrong name for Larry and say it out loud a lot. Keep the TVs low. Don't say you to it. No trophies. The deceptively safe rule, let it finish the knock, felt backwards. My whole body wanted to meet the door halfway. But the binder warned us like a passive-aggressive ant. Fine. We'd wait if it came to that. We picked the wrong name, Marty. June started practicing. "Come on, Marty," she said. And it sounded almost normal because she committed to the bit, like we were lying to a child for a game. We opened the door. Quiet. No TV screaming, no lights blasting. The house had reset itself. It smelled like its usual house smell. Old coffee, laundry detergent, dust. I checked the living room first. Remote on the arm of the couch. Larry, Marty, sitting high on the bookcase because he likes to make me beg. June went straight to the kitchen and turned the TV on, then set the volume to 7 because of the binder. The number on the TV didn't change the sound much. It changed the feeling like someone dimmed the sun. "Marty," June said, softer, and the cat's ear twitched at the wrong name. "Come here, baby," she added, and clucked her tongue. He let me scoop him like I'd never bled for him in my life and pressed his paw into my collarbone like a stamp. June stood in the doorway to the bedroom and looked at me over her shoulder and shook her head once. "Not yet," she mouthed. We did the thing couples do and communicated an essay in 2 inches of facial movement. We waited. We walked through each room and said normal things as though normal could anchor us. June kept slipping Marty into sentences like she was seasoning a soup. I kept the TV volume under 10, and when an ad went nuclear, I went to the settings and turned down the input level until the sound sat at the bottom of the room like fog. I felt crazy, but the house felt less like it was listening. We were brave for 20 minutes. Bravery is a balloon you pop with your own tooth. We made it from 1 to 2 p.m. and pretended to be roommates who just don't talk much. I got a little stupid then, standing by the bookshelf where the trophy used to be, and reached for the spot out of habit. June caught me with her eyes like a tripwire. I left my hand in midair and made it into a stretch. Then we saw it. Not it. Not the smooth. The post-it. Yellow. On the microwave. June's handwriting. Feed Larry 6p. Vet says cut back. It had been there all week. I remember writing it after the vet called me dramatic for how much I thought my cat eats, but it looked suddenly like bait. We made eye contact. The binder had said, "If you see a yellow post-it twice, leave. That house is over." Twice. What did that mean? June pulled it off, crumpled it, put it in the trash. "That's one," she said, trying to be flippant. At 3, the first knock came. 3 slow. 2 fast. Then a pause like it wanted us to say hello through the door. The binder begged, let it finish the sequence dash. It felt wrong to let something outside claim the tempo. But we waited. The knocks resumed. This time they came in a rhythm I recognized, the pattern my delivery guy uses. The binder said it mixes slow and fast to bait you. We waited until it ended. Then we opened the door because it had finished, and that's the kind of fool I am. I follow the rules even if I don't love the author. No one stood there. Of course, just a neighbor's kid's scooter on our stoop and a piece of junk mail dug under the mat. I bent to grab it and saw something small lodged between the weaving of the doormat. A yellow post-it folded. I extracted it. It had a doodle of a cat and the word Marty in a blocky, childish hand. June went cold. She didn't look at the binder because she didn't need to. "That's 2. She whispered. "Maybe it was the kid." I said, "Except the kid's name is Anthony, and he draws trucks, not cats." June took the post-it like she might crack it. She put in the binder between rules 2 and 3, like a bookmark that admits where you really are. It got worse. You know that. You don't ask for help when things get better. The house started to push back. You'd think it would bang and scream and bleed walls. It didn't. It made tiny edits. The bathroom mirror felt microscopically closer than yesterday. The hallway looked longer if you looked for 3 seconds, but shorter if you looked for 4. I turned on the faucet and the water came out in a smooth, unbroken cylinder, which sounds pretty if you say it out loud. But in person, it looked like the water was using a cheat code. We did what the binder wanted. We used neutral language. We called it the smooth and the copy. And when we refer to each other, we made sure to say names, not pronouns. It turned our speech into something formal and off, and I knew if someone overheard us, they'd think we were in a cult. "June," I'd say, "hand me the bloom mug," and I'd hold out my hand, and she'd hand it over like we were actors in the same play, making sure the lines landed on the right marks. At 6, when the vet said to feed the cat, the kitchen TV glitched. The volume stayed under 10, but the picture went syrupy. The video stretched. The hands cutting onions pulled too long and curled. The burden of the groceries had the wrong weight. I looked at June and saw the wrongness reflecting on her face, and that was worse than the wrongness. "Marty," she said, dropping food into the bowl with a jittering hand. Larry, Marty, walked into the kitchen, stopped, looked right at the TV, then at us, then back at the TV. He did that slow blink cats do when they forgive you. He wasn't forgiving us. He was forgiving himself for what he was about to decide, which, as best as I can make sense of it now, was to look at the smooth picture in the TV and let it look back. He arched his back. He hissed at the TV as if the smooth could hear him through the glass. I wanted to pick him up and remove him like a plug from a socket. He ate. We pretended to eat. The house held its breath with us, so the forks wouldn't be the only sound. After dinner, June went to the bathroom and called me, and there it was, the second yellow post-it. It looked nothing like her handwriting and exactly like her handwriting. "Turn the volume down," it said, all caps. It was stuck to the medicine cabinet mirror at a crooked angle, like a head snapping wrong under a hand. It had a greasy fingerprint in the corner, and it was my fingerprint. That house was over. The binder didn't add a "then do this." It just said, "leave dash." We packed the same way we had the night before, badly. Sweatshirts, the binder, cat in the carrier. Larry howling like we'd convinced him the car was a planet we could leave him on. We got to the door and then remembered Rule 1. It knocks. Let it finish. As if our leaving would cue it. We stood like idiots with our arms full, waiting for a door to bang like a drum. It didn't knock. It sighed. The whole house. Like when you open the freezer and a little cloud comes out, except this was warm and smelled like copper and the foam inside new furniture. My ears popped. The kitchen light dimmed and then rose to a color that wasn't technically a color. June pressed her shoulder to mine and put the carrier on the floor like it was a bomb she needed to defuse without looking at it. I think it wants us to wait, she said, which is how people talk right before they accept the wrong invitation. Something tapped. Once. Then again. Slow. Then 5 fast. Then stopped. Don't, June said, grabbing my wrist when I reached for the handle. It's not done. It made us wait a full minute. My hand itched. I've never wanted to open a door more. When it knocked again, it did it 3 times slow, 4 times fast, then once so soft, I almost convinced myself it didn't count. Then nothing. I opened the door. Because we're good students. Because we don't break rules. Because we wanted to leave, and the rule promised safety if you let the whole performance run. The person on the other side was me. Not the smooth. Not floating. Me. My height. My posture when I pretend I'm not tired. My hair doing the stupid wing thing on the right. My mouth making the apology face I haven't earned yet. But the eyes. They were wrong. Too wet, like someone had glazed them. He held my key card in his right hand. He had the same cut on the left knuckle from where I'd scraped the door frame. He held the key card out like a peace offering. I took it. I hate that I took it, but it looked like a completion of something. He smiled with a mouth that was all teeth and no tongue. Thanks, I said to my own face, and the minute the word left, I wanted to rip out my own vocal cords. Don't say you, the binder had warned. Don't grant mapping permissions. I had said thanks to the copy, and the copy had accepted it like a signature. It leaned forward as if to brush past me into the house, and I had this instinct to be polite and step aside, like for a pizza delivery person on a crowded stoop. June said my name so hard it yanked me back into my body. Don't, she whispered, not to me, to the house. She kept her eyes on my copy and said out loud, "We are leaving. The house is over." The copy stepped back and cocked its head. The movement was an impression of curiosity. It was like someone who had never seen curiosity trying it on. Then it melted, not like wax, like a photo left in the sun. It slid a little to the left, and its edges blurred, and then it was nothing but air that smelled like pennies. The air was warmer where it had been. We left. We drove. We didn't pick a place. We made it to the edge of town, and then into the next town, which is actually just more the same town with different potholes. We booked a motel with a carpet pattern that made my eyes think there were ants. The night clerk was so uninterested in us, it felt like generosity. We got a room with a wheezing AC and a bedspread with cigarette burns and a Bible with a lip-shaped stain on page 623. The TVs here all start at a volume of 20 because motel owners love punishing ears. So the first thing we did, like broken normal people following absurd rules, was turn both volumes to 9. We read the binder. It had other pages that weren't rules. Accounts. One had a photocopied incident report from what looked like the 80s in which a dispatcher logs a call from a domestic residence. Husband reports wife appears like cutout animation. Wife reports husband smiles from wrong hinge. The dispatcher says to ignore any mimicry until it begins to falter, then strike. Strike with what? No idea. The report ended with family vacated. Then, later, residents condemned. A final handwritten line in a different pen. It prefers light, not darkness. Light smooths. Dark wrinkles. Use wrinkles. June pointed at that. Light smooths, she read. TVs are light. Turning volume down is turning the signal down. She nodded like the world had said a sentence that earned a faint grade. We slept in shifts. Larry slept on the TV stand like he'd appointed himself guardian of the sacred 9 volume. He stared at the black screen as if it was going to wink. I dreamed of the post-it. Every time I opened the binder in the dream, the post-it multiplied and fell out like molting skin. In a second shift, I woke to the wood knock of the door and June's hand over my mouth. "Sequence," she said. We waited. It did the fast, slow bait thing, and then nothing. We waited. We did not answer. Finally, the quiet felt like we'd bored it. We didn't open the door. We learned. We waited. After an hour, June slid the chain on and cracked the door an inch. The hallway was empty except for a piece of yellow paper. She picked it up with 2 fingers like it might bite. It said, "Look down." I looked. Only carpet. But when I looked up at June, her face was wrong. It took a beat for my lungs to restart. No, not wrong. Wet. She'd been crying quietly. "I can't take much more," she said, which wasn't the dramatic line it sounds like typed. It was logistics. It was about muscles and chemicals. "I need a shower. I feel like I'm wearing it." I took the Bible out of the drawer and put it on the TV remote and sat on it because I am, at heart, a child. I turned the other TV to 9 as well and let it spill a cooking show into the room. We are animals, and the light bouncing around gives our animal selves something to follow when other things want to lead us. June showered. I heard the water and stood with my ear against the door to make sure it sounded like water. I heard the little squeak the faucet makes when you turn it too far left. I was proud of myself for guarding. Then the water shut off and I heard the curtain slide, which makes a particular plastic rasp, and then I heard another shower start. That was impossible. There was one bathroom. Then I realized the AC had kicked on. The droning sound had turned my brain inside out. I laughed at myself, quiet mean, because of course I'd mistaken it. June came out wrapped in a towel, normal wet hair, normal sad eyes, normal small smile for me, because even the end times she tries to meet me halfway. She looked toward the TV and her brow furrowed. "Why is it so loud?" "It's at 9. "It's not," she said, and she walked to the TV and put the volume down. The number showed 7. It had been at 7. My stomach turned over because I knew what I'd seen. I had put it to 9. It had slipped. Or I had. That's how it gets you. It makes you doubt which tiny things count. We slept again. I dreamed a little different. In the dream, I was not chased by the copy. I was the copy. I stood outside my own door holding my key card and smiled until my mouth broke. June kept me out by misnaming me. "Marty," she said, and I felt a hole open under my feet. I fell into it and landed in our kitchen where the post-it stuck to the microwave had words I couldn't read because they were too ordinary and therefore too sharp. I woke with the sense I had given something away. Morning. June said the thrift store manager had texted her. "You okay, Junebug? That binder you borrowed is giving the volunteers the heebie-jeebies that it's not here." June typed back a lie about cataloging donations. Then she put the phone face down like it had become another TV. We made a list. The binder had suggested lists. The post-it had threatened lists. We wrote on the motel notepad, which had the motel name printed at the top in a font that made my teeth itch. 1. Find another place to stay that isn't a motel with a hallway that looks like a centrifuge. 2. Do not return a house without a plan, if at all. 3. Keep TV volume below 10. 4. Misname Larry. Stick to Marty. Do not switch. 5. If it knocks, let it finish. Do not open after the knock unless leaving immediately. 6. Do not say you to the copy. 7. Look for yellow post-it. If seen twice again, leave that place. Rule 1 felt like obeying the binder, which felt like examining a map drawn by a drunk. Rule 7 gave me a new migraine. If everywhere can become over, where do people like us go? We found a short-term rental online. Cheap, close to a bus route. The pictures were obviously taken with a wide-angle lens that makes rooms look wider than reality. We didn't care. The landlord met us in the parking lot with keys and a look that said he had made peace with being a person who rents apartments to strange young couples who ask weird questions about TV volume. We moved in like 2 little raccoons. Binder, cat. The bag with our underwear and the bag with our cords and chargers and the bag with June's hairbrush she won't admit is her favorite. The TV there started at 15. I smiled at the universe's sense of humor and turned it down to 9. June set Larry's carrier on the floor and opened it and said, "Marty," without looking at him, because she had decided if she looked at his face while lying, she'd undo the lie. He came out, sniffed, went to the corner of the couch, and made a little U shape with his body that means he feels safe enough to be arrogant. For 2 hours, we were a couple in a cheap apartment that smelled like the last tenants cooking oil and sadness. I made coffee in a machine that hadn't been cleaned, which sounds like self-harm, but was just stubbornness. June stood in the kitchen watching the dust float and said it was beautiful in a way that made me realize she was coating the word with sugar to disguise it from a dark. Then it found us, or we carried it with us, and it woke up. Someone knocked. Soft. 3 times. Then the fast part like laughter. We froze. We were halfway to the door when the binder flashed in my head. Let it finish. June mouthed 1, 2, 3 with the slow knocks, and 4, 5, 6 on the fast. Then silence. That stretched until it became a different kind of noise. We waited 1 full minute. 2. "It's done," I said out loud, to myself or to the rule. I opened the door with the chain still on. No one. A yellow post, it stuck to the outside of the door, right over the peephole, crooked like a mouth. I pulled it off. It said, "Check the volume." I looked at the TV, even though I knew how this goes. 9. The number was 9, but the sound was louder. Input level, I muttered, and I went to the settings, and there it was, turned all the way up. It had found a way to be louder without breaking Rule 3. I turned the input down, left the number at 9. I felt like I was negotiating with a parallel DMV. That night, we decided to tell someone. Not the cops, not our parents. Actually tell you-. Strangers. I thought maybe writing this would be like carrying a flare to the side of the road. We sat on the floor with the binder between us and let June's phone light our faces while we typed. I told June we'd leave out the parts that make us seem pathetic or too weird. June gave me a look that said, "You're still fighting the last war." "Tell them everything," she said. "If they can't handle a cat named Larry being called Marty to keep a ghost from cooking us like a VHS, then they weren't going to help anyway." While we typed, it knocked. Once, then again. I didn't get up. If I sound brave, it's lying. I was frozen. 20 minutes passed, and June's phone died, and the room went dark for 1 long second that felt like someone had popped the bubble of our safe oxygen. The TV lit the room back up at 9 volume, and for the first time in my life, I thanked the television like a person. We slept badly and woke to a sound that made no sound. The copy, the smooth, was standing in the kitchen doorway. It didn't float this time. It stood. That made it worse. Its face was an impressionist painting of June's face if the painter had never shown anyone their work. The mouth drooped and tried. The eyes were wet this time, too wet. It held something in its left hand. My shark bottle opener flattened and wrong. It lifted the opener like a coin trick and flicked it, and I watched a shadow fall from the opener to the floor at the wrong angle. The copy smiled. It smelled like pennies and the inside of a microwave. June grabbed my wrist so hard it felt like a cuff. "Don't say you," she whispered. I swallowed. My throat clicked. "We are leaving," I told the copy, because that sentence had saved us once. The copy's head cocked. It opened its mouth as if to say my line back. It made a sound like a first draft of my voice. Then it tried again, and it improved, and that's when I realized we were teaching it. Every time we followed the rule, it watched us follow the rule. Every time we named a thing, it learned the holes we made to keep it out. It was going to fill those holes. June reached behind her, never taking her eyes off the copy. Her fingers found the remote. She turned the TV up to 10, then 11. The number jumped. The binder didn't have a contingency for "it gets worse, break your own rules." June broke the rule. The room flooded with a commercial for a kitchen sponge and the voice that sells sponges for living. The copy flinched. The light changed the room. It smoothed. "No," June said, and she turned the TV off. The room wrinkled. The copy flickered like tape disturbed by a magnet. "Wrinkles," she said. Light smooths. We used the only weapons we had. We turned off every light. We unplugged the TV. We let the room sag into its true shape. The copy swam in that dark like a badly drawn swimming man, then snapped to a pose that looked like the way I stand when I'm waiting for toast. It forked just a hair like 2 frames of film. Then the nose, my nose, flattened. The eyes blinked wrong, top to bottom instead of up-down like curtains closing sideways. Door, I said, meaning let's go, not to it. We moved. The copy tried to follow and hit the corner of the wall. It stuttered like a file buffering. It didn't cry. It didn't scream. It looked like someone who had been told the wrong rules and was angry about being excluded. We made it to the door, and because we were still us, we put the chain on, looked through the crack, then opened. The hallway was a bad carpet and a fire extinguisher and a nightlight. But there on the wall opposite our door was a yellow post-it. It said, "Thank you. Screw etiquette." We ran, down the hall, down the stairs, into the car. Larry in the carrier, Binder in June's lap. The car smelled like stress. We didn't pick a destination. We drove, and the suburbs kept throwing up the same street, copy after copy, like our town had plastic surgery. We ended up in a movie theater lot again, because that's where you go when you have nowhere else. Neon. Rain starting early again. The theater is running a late-night showing, and teenagers are making choices about their lives in the glow like moths trying on fire for size. I keep trying to find the part where there's a solution, a thing I can put in bold at the end. There isn't. The binder runs out of pages. The rules help until they don't. The safe rule, the knock one, maybe wasn't safe. It let it finish something. Mapping. If I'm right, and I'm scared that I am, it gets better at being the person standing in front of it every time that person apologizes to it for existing. I thanked it for handing me my key card, and I hate myself for that. The next time I saw it, it had my cut, my posture, my patience at the door. We're in the car right now. Larry is asleep with his paw stretched through the carrier door like he's reaching for the future. June picked up my hand and traced the lines on my palm like she was learning my route. She said, "If you ever come up to me and I'm not sure, say the first thing you said to me when we met. Not the thing you tell your friends. The real thing." I told her the real thing was, "Do you need quarters?" Because we met at the laundromat, and that is ugly and true. She nodded. "Okay," she said, "and we have one small shield now. We're going to wait here until morning or until something breaks in us enough that we have to move again. I'm writing this because a binder in a thrift store saved us, and maybe I can be someone else's binder. If you see the smooth, if you see the wrong version of someone you love wearing their face like a shirt inside out, turn the light down. Keep the TV at 9 and a wrinkled room. Misname your animal and don't say you. Don't bring anything with your name engraved on it. And if it knocks, maybe let it finish, but know the price of being polite." The neon shakes on my hands while I type, and I can see June in the window's reflection if I look at the glass instead of her. Her reflection looks like June, but the smile is wrong. I realize she is not smiling, and my stomach drops. I stop breathing until my brain reminds me that glass lies and light smooths things that should have edges. The rain starts harder. The world outside the car blurs to a smear. June says my name softly, the right way, with the little question mark she puts at the end when she wants me to look at her and not at the version of her painted on a surface. I'm looking at June, and she's looking at me, and she's not holding a trophy, and I'm not floating. I'm just a person who's scared that a thing that likes to practice will get a better rendition of us with every hour we try to sleep. I want to promise some clean ending that ties up with a bow, but this isn't that kind of thread. If you have advice, tell me. If you have rules, write them. If you've seen the post it twice somewhere that isn't ours, I'm sorry. Get out. That place is over. And if you see me and I'm smiling too wide, and I have my key card in the wrong hand, and I say thanks too fast, please remember the first thing I ever said to June wasn't important or clever. It was quarters, and there was a machine that didn't take dollars, and my hand smelled like coins for hours after. We'll try to drive when the rain lets up. We'll try to be hard to copy. We'll never forgive our house for behaving like a mouth. If I see it again, if it finds us in this car, I am terrified it will be a better version of me than me. I am terrified that when June looks, she will have to choose, and the copy will know all the rules and all the ways we thanked it without meaning to. I'm terrified that when it knocks next, it will knock like an apology I owe, and my stupid polite hands will open the door.